Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this new edition of Business Africa. Today we put the spotlight on environmental issues as the COP28 concludes its 2-week session in Dubai, and we catch up with the Central African strategy concerning crypto assets. But first, let's get on with the show with our top stories today. Raising awareness of crypto assets and their risks, how Central Africa seeks to combine progress with caution.
We don't have any regulations governing the handling of cryptocurrencies in this system. As a result, people do what they want. They buy, they issue. It's not controlled.
Spotlight on Angola, a country recovering from the civil war thanks to its inhabitants, but also to nature.
Precisamos de conservar os animais, conservar a floresta, conservar peixe, sabendo qual o uso que é mais importante para nós conservar esse território.
Living in cities, but with art. That's the promise of street artists in Accra.
It's nice, actually it's nice. And this act will help us to see the young ones that have talent, that they don't have people to support them. So this will show what they have within them.
Well, this is the news that shook the cryptocurrency community. Changpeng Zhao, president of Binance, the largest digital asset exchange, pleaded guilty to money laundering in the United States. He has resigned, and his company and himself will have to pay substantial fines. Remember, the fallen king of virtual money was still in the Central African Republic last year to encourage the use of cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, in the Central African sub-region, crypto assets are already used in the public securities market, despite this activity being unregulated. Our journalist in Douala, Maxime Farel-Bonio, attended a CEMAC awareness forum on this topic. Take a look. While we're witnessing cascading bankruptcies in the cryptocurrency market across the Atlantic and regulations tighten in Europe, African financial markets are currently booming with the rise of bitcoins, a digital currency that is attracting growing interest from African investors.
La crypto-monnaie, c'est une devise, oui. C'est des devises digitales.
Cryptocurrency is a digital currency that you can use to trade by collaborating with business partners from elsewhere, and when you have cryptos that are used in other markets,
Et tu possèdes des cryptos, vu que c'est utilisé dans les autres marchés, tu peux facilement faire.
you can easily do business with it without trying to convert a local currency into an international currency.
De pouvoir faire l'affaire.
Cryptocurrency first saw the light of day in 2009, but it was in 2013 that this digital currency took off, and it started to appeal to Africa a few years ago with undeniable advantages.
Il y a de cela quelques mois, la valeur du dollar
A few months ago, the dollar's value rose while the CFA franc fell.
Au franc CFA, le franc CFA a baissé, la valeur a tant baissé. Si tu avais peut-être le Bitcoin,
if you have a Bitcoin that now costs $27,000, as soon as its value increases, you become rich.
Avec un Bitcoin, si la valeur du Bitcoin augmente,
whether in Cameroon, the Central African Republic, or Gabon.
Devient riche aussi. Et si ça diminue,
just like someone in the United States or France. The same thing happens if it goes down.
Over time, other virtual digital assets were created based on blockchain technology through a decentralized register and used in public securities markets, or OTAs, assimilable treasury bonds. The Ijara platform, co-founded by Cameroonian entrepreneur Nelly Chatoué Diop, enables cryptocurrency transactions using CFA francs via an app and is thus reaching a growing number of unbanked people.
We buy OTAs in the CEMAC zone market. or make them available to Ijara to reach targets that the market cannot reach. The platform advocates financial inclusion or divides its bonds into 1,000 shares at 1,000 CFA francs, which allows it to reach its targets. Now, thanks to technology, Ijara is making its own bond available digitally. That's what we call a digital asset.
However, the activity is not without risk for investors, as no supervisory body regulates the field. What's more, crypto assets are volatile.
We don't have any regulations governing the handling of cryptocurrencies in this system. As a result, people do what they want. They buy, they issue. It's not controlled.
C'est pas contrôlé. Les gens se sont servis de ceci pour
they have used this to rip people off.
Pour arnaquer les gens. Vous voyez? Les gens disent OK, achète des bitcoins, c'est un nouveau phénomène.
They say purchasing Bitcoin makes a lot of money.
Ils ont oublié de les éduquer d'abord sur ce que c'est que la crypto-monnaie, ce que c'est que
But they still need to educate people about Bitcoin and its risks.
Qui sont liés à ce phénomène.
The issue was at the heart of the 6th CEMAC International Investors Week, which focused on sustainable finance and the risks associated with crypto assets.
This is a new, specific and technical sector. Knowledge of the tools must be accompanied by the awareness raising, because the basis of our business is to protect public savings, and public savings are the small savings you place on the market. We must explain why you must go to the market, because you are financing the economy and growth, and you enable companies of the CEMAC zone to find funding.
The meetings were held simultaneously in several countries in the Central African sub-region, an initiative of the Financial Market Surveillance Commission, the Bank of Central African States, which has long been reluctant to accept crypto assets, has recognized the need to establish a community regulatory framework for crypto investments in the CEMAC zone. This is the result of pressure generated by reforms in the Parliament of the Central African Republic, which revised its April 2022 law governing cryptocurrencies. We're now heading for Dubai, where the United Nations Climate Conference COP28 closes this week, with already remarkable progress for Africa since the Climate Loss and Damage Fund for vulnerable countries has been revitalized by its first capital infusion. The United Arab Emirates has pledged $100 million. They were followed by Germany, which will also contribute $100 million. The United Kingdom has also pledged £40 million, followed by Japan and the United States with $20 and more than $17 million respectively. Until now, the absence of a financing plan blocked the start of this new fund. And Kenya is taking advantage of the COP28 opportunity to accelerate its green transition. In total, the country signed 7 deals worth nearly $5 billion on the sidelines of the UN conference. These green projects include geothermal generation plants and a data center powered by renewable energy. President William Ruto of Kenya is said to be pushing for Africa to become a green powerhouse. The country is considering selling sovereign green bonds and debt-for-nature swap deals to fund climate projects. Already, Kenya generates 92% of its electricity from renewables. Precisely in this time of energy transition, several countries on the continent are also revisiting their links with nature. Some do it after murderous wars. It is time to turn to a country that has triumphed over the effects of a civil conflict. Angola, to be precise, a country that now wants to take advantage of peace, but also the economic and social impact of renewal. We explored this quest for a different way of life, which also involves a closer alliance with nature. Take a look.
Eu fui raptada em 1998, no lugar do minha camisa, e eu fiquei na comuna de Yuva a fazer travessia do rio Quando, fazendo transbordo de material para o tempo da UNITA, para procurar a vida, não te matar. Como não conseguia levar na cabeça, então me incluíram no grupo que faz transbordo da NOA. Então ali é o motivo que me faz para mim fazer esse trabalho. É só para salvar a vida e conseguir sobreviver.
Angola is a beautiful country, but it's got a savage history. 500 years of colonial rule followed by war, either independent struggle from the Portuguese or also, the civil war itself, which to begin with was a huge conventional conflict between two big conventional forces, then falling off into a guerrilla type conflict, almost like a resistance type struggle. So that leaves a legacy. There's a lot of explosive items in the ground.
The peace in Angola since 2002 has lasted. I am a South African, and we fought the Angolan bush war against the Angolan government. With that as the backdrop, the landmines, the fact that the government didn't know who was living in that part of Angola exactly, whether they were dangerous or armed. And we found this incredibly peaceful community, the Chokwe and Luchazi, people that accepted us and guided us down their own rivers, down the Kwandu, the Quito, the Kwanafal. These incredible adventures we had with these people. Yes, the peace is held in Angola. Every year, people lose their lives to mines in Angola. So that is a definite threat.
Na verdade, é um orgulho. Eu pessoalmente também me orgulho de ter sido parte desse contributo de minagem ou do acabamento ou do termo das minas em Angola. É um trabalho, na verdade, muito importante para qualquer país ou para qualquer sociedade, porque as minas, na verdade, impedem o desenvolvimento de um país. O trabalho não terminou em termos de desminagem. Na verdade, ainda existem outras áreas, outros campos para serem desminados, né? Mas num espaço de 3 anos, este é o desafio que nós temos de terminar com os campos que ainda existem.
Yeah, so between the beginning of April last year and the end of March this year, we've cleared over 3,000 mines and over 1 million square meters.
Precisamos de conservar os animais, conservar a floresta, conservar peixe, sabendo qual é o uso que é mais importante para nós conservar esse território. Então, também para nós conseguirmos se dar bem com os animais, de agora até adiante. Então, essa coisa, eu acho que outras coisas que não estou a me lembrar, coisa que eu vejo mais importante.
The future of conservation in Africa is local. That's people like Elias and the Luchazi that live around the sources in Angola. They are our guides, companions up in those landscapes. They've shown us all of the source lakes, the peatlands, helped us find all of the new species, 122 new species to science we've found with those local communities.
De antes os animais aqui era demasiado, mas os elefantes, os leões, onças, zebras também aqui, rinos. Aqui estava bastantes.
The wildlife of southeast Angola is traumatized. All of the animals are still there, but at very low numbers. A lot of them are night adapted, so you only really see them at night in our camera traps and never in person. They're almost like ghosts. They are coming back. The last 18 years of peace have seen some of the populations bounce back. Also in the last 18 years we've seen lots of local people coming back that were displaced during the war.
Gostei muito de estudar a vida das aves, assim como os pássaros, ou como vamos falar, como os animais terrestres e os animais aquáticos, vendo que como ele vive a vida dele. Eu gostaria muito de ter a sabedoria do que cada um dos animais ou cada dos seres viventes que necessita, o que é mais necessário na vida dele, o que necessita para ser feliz na vida dele. Eu gostaria de estudar essas coisas como a base da minha cabeça.
By 2030, we hope that in partnership with government and local communities that we've been able to make investments of tens of millions of dollars into those communities living around the source lakes, up in the water tower in the Angolan highlands, investing in community cooperatives and associations to support alternative livelihoods and sustainable traditional livelihoods.
Já descobrimos que no rio não pode se lavar com sabão muito porque danifica peixe, danifica os animais aquáticos. Já nos explicaram que a floresta não se usa assim. Muitas coisas que nós estamos a aprender e mais com a vossa exploração.
Rivers are wonderful metaphors for that, crossing these borders and becoming them. We need to break down those barriers and realize peace in Africa.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. After the long winter of COVID, it is time for stabilization for African airlines. This is what emerges from the report of Abdurrahman Berth, Secretary General of the African Airlines Association, the AFRA. African carriers were projected to carry 85 million passengers this calendar year, and losses per passenger are shrinking from $9.5 last year to $4.4 this year. But there are still obstacles on the way, such as the price of fuel, which is 30 to 40% higher in Africa. The slow progress in the liberalization of the African skies through the Single Air Transport Market Treaty is also a cause for concern. Red alert for the South African economy with ongoing power cuts, congestions at the ports, and the difficult situation of the public infrastructure group Transnet. Factory managers have become very pessimistic, and index tracking expected business conditions contracted sharply in November, signaling that purchasing managers expect a deterioration. The African government has announced an injection of 2.3 billion euros into Transnet. The operator of the Port of Durban is facing massive container congestion. Meanwhile, the troubles of the South African public infrastructure operator are not scaring off investors. They continue to flock to Africa. Focus of their attention are the railways. There's been a rush on railway projects as countries compete to transport minerals. This is the case, for example, of copper-rich Zambia, the latest country to launch a project. Tanzania is considering a $5.6 billion railway line between the Indian Ocean and Lake Nyasa, traversing regions rich in iron ore, coal, and graphite. More than 1.3 billion Africans will live in cities by 2050, which will triple the continent's urban population in 35 years. It is a social revolution in prospect, with the emergence of a middle and upper class in search of a better family environment. Already, metropolises on the continent are smoothly adjusting to new aspirations. Example in Accra, where a whole tradition of mural street art has developed to support the evolution of the city. This is a report by our correspondent in Accra, John Awotwi. The city of Accra, bustling with activity, is notorious for its persistent traffic jams. The cosmopolitan nature of this West African city means that it is constantly going through transformations. One such welcome transformation is the City Murals project, through which local artists are collaborating to beautify the bustling streets of Accra. with vibrant murals of rich cultural and historical significance. These massive paintings are an initiative of the Creative Arts Council of Ghana, undertaken by over 50 professional artists who belong to the Ghana Association of Visual Artists and Accra.art, a Ghanaian creative network that promotes alternative art. The role of public space art with the aim of beautifying the city was identified over 30 years ago, when the Commissioner of Culture and Art, Dr. Ben Abdullah, spearheaded a project to immortalize the founding father of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, by creating the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. Also, as part of the project, he used a young Ghanaian artist to create a relief for the facade of the Kwame Nkrumah Library Museum with works of Wiz Kudowo.
The whole project was about Kwame Nkrumah, and Kwame Nkrumah was about Africa. And then Kwame Nkrumah was married to an Egyptian. There's so much that went into the thinking that went into that. You know, he was married to an Egyptian, Kwame Nkrumah, and Egypt kind of represented the cradle of African civilization at the time. So I thought that that was a good theme to develop this relief around. So I went ahead and put together the design that reflected all this.
Today, renowned painters of Ghana are putting expressive art into public spaces, using the concrete facades of the various overpasses around Accra as their canvas. One such overpass is the Akko-Ajay interchange along the principal road leading to Accra Central, which also crosses the Nkrumah Circle on the Ring Road to the coastal part of Accra. The paintings center on traditional culture and historical portraits. One such portrait is that of Ebezina Akko-Ajay, a former Minister of Justice, statesman, politician, lawyer, journalist, and founding member of the United Gold Coast Convention, the first political party of Ghana.
The murals you see as part of the urban design work to beautify the city. You know, instead of having posters, sometimes defacing most of under the bridges and concrete works in town. Rather, we should have paintings that serve as part of the beautification of the city. So it's part of the city works. In fact, we call it public art, and the public art could be mural, like the paintings you see, can be sculptures like Dr. Buzier's sculpture 37, you know, or Kintakiteria sculpture around the Rollins Park area.
People who cross the area are amazed by the freshness that these vibrant artwork bring to these public spaces.
It's nice, actually it's nice. And this act will help us to see the young ones that have talent, that they don't have people to support them. So this will show what they have within them. Maybe some of them have finished university and they don't have job, but exhibiting this talent around will just help us to know that this person has this type of talent, so that we can just help the person out, to expose it out, big one.
This one is a storytelling. You can tell a lot of stories. For at least our fathers and our grandfathers can tell us more about this, because we are young guys now before we are coming. So we can't tell more stories about it unless we went and asked them. Then they can tell us more stories about it. Because every artwork of this is a meaning of it. So it's very beautiful.
I personally will encourage the government to build a much more bigger museum whereby art could be displayed. By doing so, we are promoting the artistic industry. Each time I come here with my girls, actually they go to school here. Anytime I pick them from school, when I get here, I see the beauty of the art, very impressive.
The artists have also done some work at the Tete Kwashi interchange to replace the concrete walls of the Tete Kwashi overpass, which had previously been defaced with worn-out posters and other advertising material. Today, it boasts magnificent murals paying homage to female heroes such as the first female doctor Susan Ofroy-Atta, industrialist Esther Oklu, female lawyer Annie Jage, Ya Asantewa, woman warrior to fight the British, among others.
Accra is growing very fast. So everybody that is in Ghana thinks that when you come to Accra, you make it. So the city is expanding faster than we, the planners, can sit down and lay out the city. If the city is laid out properly, then we can have hold on where we should put our murals and sculptures and all those things. But, planning is always chasing development.
In Accra, traffic jams may just be an opportunity to take in these murals, which represent a memorial to the legacies of some of the most influential and remarkable figures of Ghanaian history. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa, a special edition with a selection of some of our special guests and extracts from our shows this year. Don't miss it. In the meantime, you can watch our programs on our news website, africana.com, and follow us on all our social media networks. Please feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Bye-bye.